rest of the season. What's going on at Tottenham? Because as much as United take the headlines this weekend, you lost a game to Wolves. Poor run of form recently. Like, talk to us, bro.
I can only but hope that Antonio Conte is given the sack. He won't be. I can't see that there's any point with 12 games of the season to go. His contract's up anyway. So we're not talking about a guy that's got 3 or 4 years left. He's got 12 games left, depending on what happens with Milan on Wednesday night. Look, just the complete wrong appointment, guys. The complete wrong appointment for Tottenham Hotspur. We did it with Jose. We've done it with Conte. We're bringing in managers to appease a fan base, but we're bringing in managers that are win right now at all cost managers, get you over the line managers, where our team isn't ready for getting over the line. So you'll hear lots of Spurs fans say, oh, he's a winner. Okay, great, he's a winner, but he's not a winner at Tottenham Hotspur. He's a winner with big clubs that go and buy big players. He's not used to having Eric Dyer, Davinson Sanchez. Do you know what I mean? He's not, we've got a 33-year-old Terrace and players like Ollie Skip. He's not used to this. And we're seeing that, listen, I'm not saying he's not a good manager, but just not at Tottenham Hotspur. He, if anything, guys, should have been brought in remember when Spurs finished second under Pochettino? We couldn't quite get over the line. That, for me, is the year you bring in a Conte and you say, right, there you go. There's the nucleus of a team that's really good. Go and get them over the line. But bringing this guy in for what is technically a project to build for 3, 4, 5 years, it was never going to work. And the last thing I'll say on it, Terry, is for all these Spurs fans that back Conte, right? His run of form at the moment is worse than AVB's last 10 games. Right, is on par with Nuno Santos's last 10 games. Is worse than Jose's last 10 games. Right, is worse than Tim Sherwood's last 10 games. Right, but because his name is Antonio Conte, this guy is protected through thick and thin. It's the worst football I've seen at Tottenham for 2 decades, and I've seen AVB football and Santini football. It is mind-numbingly boring. And I cannot wait for this guy to walk away. I honestly can't. He is shockingly bad.
Honestly, the way your club's been run for the past, ever since Jose came in, it's almost counterproductive. I understand why that type of manager was brought in, because your core, your best players were getting to that point where they were in their pomp. You had to sort of win now to get the best out of them. And then your transfer strategy when you brought in a win-now manager was to buy project players. But when you had a project manager, it was almost trying to buy win-now players. It always seems to be a bit counterproductive at times. Like, even Antonio Conte, this transfer window, he's not had one finished article coming, apart from, if you want to call Ivan Perisic finished. And I don't mean in the good sense. I mean, his legs are starting to go now. Fraser Forster, what was the point in that? Richarlison, 60 million to not even play. What was the point in Dan Juma coming in? Like, you've got a builder in. What Tottenham done is they've got a builder in, and then given him the wrong set of tools. You've got someone to lay your bricks. You've given him some hammers, and to lay some bricks with some hammers.
I think the problem that you've got here, though, right, is I hear lots of Spurs fans, and the go-to line with Spurs fans is back Conte, he succeeds. But as the whole kind of back and manager line is thrown around way too much by definitely Spurs fans. I'm not going to talk about other more successful clubs. You'll never hear me banter Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea fan, because you guys could all finish bottom one year and you'd still win a trophy before we do, right? So I keep my feet on the ground. The problem is this, right, is the reports are from people close to the club that the players that Antonio Conte has wanted since he joined here was 1, Bastoni, 2, Vardiol of RB Leipzig, and 3, Lautaro Martinez. Now, let's break this down. This is where I'm not a stupid Spurs fan, right? This is where I like to think I'm quite honest. The moment Vardiol, right, let's just say Daniel Levy goes insane and puts a £90 million bid down for Vardiol, and RB go, yeah, we'll accept that. Right. At the same time, so do Man United, so do Man City, so do Real Madrid, so do Chelsea, right? Everyone's bidding for him. This guy, A, is not going to pick Tottenham Hotspur, and B, we're not going to pay anywhere near what your clubs will pay in terms of salaries. All right? Forget the transfer fee. Lautaro Martinez, he comes on the market in a world of football now where there's hardly any goal scorers, you think his only option is going to be Tottenham Hotspur, where he's going to...
Also, he's a dramatically awful football player as well.
No, true.
He is
true, but that's not the point I'm making here. The point is these players that we want will be gobbled up by better clubs. So this ties into your point that we're bringing in managers that need players for right now. Those right now players won't join Tottenham Hotspur right now because of where we are. So you have to bring in a manager that is going to happy to have a transfer strategy that is buying the players the level below, coaching and mentoring them. At the moment, we've got none of that right. We've got a director of football that has absolutely flopped. 17 new players he's brought in, and the only 3 that have been a success are the 3 that he knows from Juventus, in Romero, Bentancur, and Kulusevski.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a shambles.
I genuinely, I think that Spurs need to do, in a similar situation to when Arsenal had Aubameyang, and it was like, do we keep Aubameyang or do we sell Aubameyang? I think Spurs need to have a complete rebuild and completely clear out all the, like, everyone. And I don't mean clear out Deadwood, I mean clear out everyone, because Kane, quite frankly, is not going. He's not going to win anything at your club. He's not going to get any better than he already is, because he's already fantastic. And you're not going to win anything in your current state. You'd probably be better off clearing out Kane, clearing out Son, clearing out all of your players. Obviously, you can't do that, you can't do that all in one summer, but almost gutting out your club and rebuilding it in a brand new way, and doing, I know it's a bad example right now, but doing a Todd Bowley in terms of, we're going to get in a young manager who we trust in, and we're going to give him 5 years and see what we can do.
Do you know the problem with that?
You're not going to progress any further in your current state. Your current state has a ceiling.
The problem with that, listen, I completely agree with you. The problem with that is there's so much deadwood at this club, right, that have been put on huge salaries. So when you look at players like Lo Celso and Ndombele, who in Europe has got the money to buy these players?
But then, Slav, this is what you have to do. Do what we did. Just get rid of them at any cost.
Hang on. Yeah, listen, I agree, but we've got Daniel Levy as our chairman. Never, ever going to happen. This is the difference. I hear people say this all the time. Gut the whole thing out. I agree. Who's buying these Ndombeles and who's paying him the 200 grand a week we're paying him, right? So he's under no obligation to leave. Half the deadwood are English as well. Yeah. So our homegrown quota, now all of a sudden you've got to go and buy English players that have the English tax. The club has been run so badly for years. And I get your point on Kane, but without Harry Kane, and I know rival fans love to banter Harry Kane, without that man, we are a bottom half team year in, year out. This man holds our club together. Yeah. Every single manager is living off Harry Kane.
Sorry, bro. No, go ahead, David.
I was just going to jump in. Go ahead, David.
I was going to say, my point is that, yes, I get Harry Kane is the person who's currently keeping you afloat, but you've almost got to go, if you want to be a serious top 6 club, you've got to almost risk it and say, right now, where we are has a ceiling. And that ceiling right now is flirting with the bottom of top 4, probably Europe, when all of these teams like Newcastle, Arsenal, Chelsea finally start building their ways up.
I agree. And you know what's the thing with Harry Kane is he's irreplaceable for 2 reasons. One, how many other strikers are there out there that are younger in the world that not only can score like him, but can play football like him?
There you go.
They don't really exist for the money that Spurs would pay. Harry Kane, he isn't worth it now because of his age and length of his contract. But 2 years ago, he was a £150 million plus player. The problem is when you keep someone like that to the end of their contract, maybe he wins you a League Cup, maybe you win an FA Cup, and maybe that's seen by the fan base and the owners as being worth it. But if at 33, 34 he retires and you get no money for him, there is just no way your owners are paying for a striker. Someone's saying here, Usherman, Spurs ain't buying him. So the point is, Kane is irreplaceable. He can't be replaced unless you sell him now for big money and reinvest it. So a lot of people will always think, and look, personally, Kane's also got to leave to create.
I agree.
To create a legacy. I think he's got to go on to win trophies. But on the Conte thing, since you sacked Pochettino, the appointments of your managers have been so weird, in my opinion. As in, it's trying to. Nuno wasn't. It was a big mistake, but he was your 13th choice. it's going for these, they'll win a trophy now kind of mentality over building something that has legs, because Poch did that to a degree. And ironically, Daniel Levy pulled the rug from underneath it, as opposed to it kind of falling apart organically. I think it was more the way they treated it with anything. But the fact that you haven't tried to continue that project is crazy. Yep. And you're now looking at, how many years ago was that now? 4 years?
Yeah, 4 years. 4 years. And now you've got half the fan base crying for Poch to come back.
Yeah.
That's where we're at.
Exactly. And the problem is, if Poch comes back, he's only going to get you to a certain, and this is where I'm fuming with the Spurs fan base, is why don't you, not better than Poch, as in, why don't you want better for your club? Because all that would happen with Poch is he would come in and make you play nice football again. That would appease the majority of the fans, so they're not having to go at the owners. And the owners would just spend till you get to a certain point, and then they pull the rug from underneath your feet again.
Yeah, Terry, the problem with that is, Terry, the problem with that is we're at a point as a club, right, that as much as fans will want, like, I want the owners out more than you can imagine, right? But we're in a position where, forget top four, right? For me, again, as I said, this wasn't a thing when I was growing up. Top four now seems to be a thing everyone gets really excited about. You're still fourth, right? The problem is this. Beyond Harry Kane's goals getting us top four. Now, I'm not saying we're definitely going to get it this year. I think Liverpool will get it, if I'm honest. But if we don't get top four this year, right, we then don't have the Champions League money coming in, which is what our owner cares about, right? He cares about the money. It never gets reinvested properly back into the club. So the problem is this. There is no academy of note. No academy of note bringing through players. There is no ethos. So we jump from manager to manager that keep playing these different styles of football. We've got director of football after director of football that keep playing these different styles of football, right? We've got managers that do, players that do, players from all these different eras now. You've got 7 or 8 players that were still there from Poch. So at the moment, it just feels like there's no roadmap. There's no strategy. So at the moment, I think fans need to put kind of winning on the back burner. And this club needs, I did a video about it today, saying a Tottenham Hotspur reset. I.e., you bring in direct owners, manager, head of academy, scouts, and director of football that all go, right, this is day one. Where do we want to be as a club in 10, 20, 30 years' time? This is our ethos. This is our playing style. Every time a player goes into the academy, they know their pathway to the first team. Every time the scouts go looking, they go, yeah, he suits our style, right? Every time we bring in a manager, they're similar to the manager before, like what Brighton have just done with Potter and De Zerbi. Not identical, but Terry, we don't have any of that. Everything is on a win.
Bro, he's literally saying everything that I would have said. Like that's impressive. And when it comes to what I said when Conte got hired, bro, you're 100% spot on. I feel like Conte got hired for a paycheck. He genuinely didn't think he had a vision or plan long term with this club. It was literally a quick paycheck to get himself back into football. And Tottenham, he thought maybe he could achieve something. But at this point, you're right, bro. Everything you said is spot on.
And why was the contract 18 months?
And I think when he got hired, people said this to Spurs fans, and you probably heard it as a Spurs fan yourself from rivals, but you just didn't want to hear it because the reality is you're saying to yourself, we went from Jose Mourinho, who you shouldn't have sacked at the time you did. He could have won you a trophy that season. And then you went to Conte thinking you're going to do the same thing after Nuno. And Terry and you are both spot on. This is not the way you guys should do things. You guys should not be getting win now managers. You should be doing a project. And I agree with David. Maybe go get an Ivan Toney, go get an Osimhen, invest in the future, reset the whole starting 11 as soon as possible, and it's gonna get worse because the reality is you don't have the quality to do.
Do you know why that will never happen? Do you know why that's never going to happen? Because what we want as fans, because what we know is needed for the club is not the same journey. Right, we're going on this journey over here. Right, Levy and co are on a journey way over here. They've built a cash cow of a stadium. Right. They've built a business empire. We've built what no other football club in world football have built, right?
You've got an F1 track, right, boxing,
and
UFC wrestling.
Sorry to interject. And this has been, it's funny really because it's a top 6 show. Patrick's on it. Patrick has said to me a few times recently, I don't get why I've come for Tottenham so hard, and it's because the way Spurs fans at the start of the season. We're talking United haven't won trophies. We're going to do this before you. the way they go. I know they're Arsenal's rivals, but the things they say, it's almost like you do realize what Arsenal are compared to you. It's crazy. I said it on the last show. It's like us on this panel giving Gordon Ramsay culinary advice. It's ridiculous. You don't do it. You know, it's like me going up to the Paul brothers and saying, "No, you guys, listen to me. I'll give you some tips on how to get more views on YouTube." It's stupid. There's certain things in life you just don't challenge. And I think too many Spurs fans, I get you love your club, but like I said earlier about Man United fans talking about quads, and look, we're Man United and we've won trophies, but talking about quads is far too premature with where we are. Spurs sort of talking about being bigger than Arsenal, going to win before this team. We're doing this, we're doing that. The club's going in the right direction. We've got the manager that's going to do this. It's crazy. Antonio Conte.
You know what I heard in the summer, Terry?
Go on.
Do you know what I heard in the summer? The embarrassing thing. And this is why I get, if there's any Spurs, I've seen a few Spurs fans who I always see in my channel in the chat, and they'll agree with me on this. I get a lot of shit as a Spurs fan. Sorry if I can't swear. I get a lot of okay, cool. I get a lot of stick as a Spurs fan, right, in my own community, because I stay level-headed. So when we beat Chelsea and West Ham, I don't lose my mind and everything's amazing. When we lose to Sheffield United and Wolves, it's not the end of the world, right? Because this is Tottenham Hotspur. And in the summer, you had fans saying these three things, and I hate every one of them. One, we've left Arsenal in the rearview mirror. What? Because we finished above them by 1 or 2 points. Two, we've won the transfer window. Oh, it makes me feel dirty. It's
Bissouma,
awful,
Bissouma.
right?
No,
thing,
not Bissouma, Richard.
The third thing with this,
Spence,
right, is we will challenge for the title because we've got Antonio Conte. Only then when we lose games to go, it's not Conte, it's the owners. These fans won't make up their minds. And this is the thing. I told you guys, I hope you see it now. I'm an honest Spurs fan, right?
Bruv, and
I can't banter you boys for trophies. I can't.
Bruv, exactly. And do you know what it is, bruv? I love that you've said that. And this is the thing. Antonio Conte would have been a great appointment. Again, I'm going to sound arrogant when I say this, but if your club had done what I said, you had to give him everything he wants. Jose, you have to give him everything they want. And the first part of his time, that 6 months until the end of the season, you got him some good players for him in the January, and look what you went on to do. This summer, it started off well, and I was like, Spurs are doing well. By the end of the window, I remember sitting, and this is when it all went wrong for me with Tottenham fans, and they all started piling on me. And I was like, I know you signed 6 players, but one of them's a backup goalkeeper that isn't very good. Jed Spence, you didn't want.
Yeah.
Terrace
is 94.
He's old. And I kind of looked at Richarlison. I was like, I think this guy's well overrated. I don't even know how many goals he's going to score for you.
But Terry, not even that he's well overrated. Not even that he's well overrated, but Spurs fans go on about how Harry Kane's the best thing in the world. Heung-min Son is absolutely world class, and Kulusevski is the best young winger in the league. So where does Richarlison even fit into that squad anyway? He doesn't even fit. He literally doesn't fit in the squad.
And the thing is, and Spurs have some good players, by the way, because the three you mentioned, I think, are very good. I think Christian Romero is very good. The only problem I actually think he's got is he's a little bit too hot-headed at times, and he can get into trouble in the modern day game. But he's a very good football player, and Spurs have some quality. But the level of Romero and Kulusevski is about the standard of player that you should always be going for. Now, you'll always buy a dud or two, because every manager will sign a player that doesn't quite get to where you think, or you'll have an academy graduate that everyone raves about who doesn't quite hit the heights that they expect. That's kind of normal. But the level of gas from Spurs fans based on what they achieve, I've always found it nauseating. Like I already said earlier, people said it was a deflection. It isn't. Liverpool and City fans coming for me and Arsenal fans coming for us, I kind of get it and I accept it, you know? The only element of the banter that I won't accept is I'm going to remember this forever, because I just won't.
But Terry, you look at Chelsea.
When Spurs fans came to me, I just sort of sit there and thought, who are you? Who are you laughing at? Do you know what I mean?
Look at the Chelsea game.
Weird to me. It was so weird.
Look at the Chelsea game, right? Spurs beat what is, let's be honest, right? I think Chelsea will be back. I think they'll be fine. Not this year, right?
I've ever seen.
Right. This is my point, right? We've beaten what I've seen a very weak Chelsea team who are, people use the words rebuild and transition a lot when it isn't right. Chelsea are the epitome right now of a rebuild and a transition, and they're trying to do it all in about 12 months. That's fine, right? But it's a weak Chelsea team with no goals, right? We beat them, and then there are videos going around about Chelsea get battered everywhere they go. Then I've got people going to me, you don't seem happy that you've beat Chelsea. And I'm like, hang on. I'm happy, but you lot are all going to make these videos. You're going to banter all these other fans. Then we're going to go and do something really silly, like lose to Sheffield United and Wolves. No. We're going to go on a run. We've lost to Sheffield United. We've lost to Wolves, right? And then now it's, oh my God, it's the owners. Well, last week you were telling me Conte's the best manager in the world because we managed to beat Chelsea, who don't score goals, and West Ham, who are firmly in a relegation battle. Spurs fans are that, right? And you know why they're that, right? Because our team is that. Win 2, lose 2. Win 2, lose 2.
And Sav, I've said this a few times, and Spurs fans hate it, but I want to get your opinion on this. I also think one of the biggest reasons they're going so crazy this year is because Arsenal are on course to win the league. If Arsenal were sitting 7th or 8th right now, as annoyed as you guys would be, I think it would be dampened down. I think it's increased it. It's like you're on fire, but Arsenal being on the top of the league, I think it's like pouring petrol over it, bro.
Do you know why it is? I think. Look, I've had this opinion of Spurs for the last. Look, I've been Enoch and Levy out since 2007 when they basically sacked Martin Yeo at half time. 2007, 2008. Forgive me, long time ago. The problem is that we finished above Arsenal last year. We got the Champions League football, and according to our fans, they've got the B-Tech PE teacher that I kept hearing in Arteta. We've got serial winner Conte. So it's like, okay, right, you've got all those things. We won the transfer window. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's what these people say. Right, go on then, kick on. Arsenal have gone, whew, we've just gone like that. We've stayed flat. Now people go, oh, but you're top 4. Conte's doing all right. Conte's not doing all right. Harry Kane is doing all right. Harry Kane is scoring goals. Every game we look crap. Harry Kane digs us out a hole with a goal, right? And then people go, yeah, Conte, there he goes, winning games. He's not doing a thing. He's got dinosaur tactics. His substitutions are absolutely shocking. And for me, see the season out. Go. I don't know. Heung-min Son can go as well. I'm done. It's just
you know what my favourite Tottenham thing is, though? I'm just going to dive in real quick on this. My favourite Tottenham thing in the past 2 months. Antonio Conte got nominated for Manager of the Month for the past month. Antonio Conte's only game he managed was the loss. The only game Antonio Conte was there for was the loss.
I think you're spot on about it, and I see a lot of similarities with Man United fans. Some Man United fans only care about the Glazers when we're losing games, and it frustrates the living daylights out of me because it's not something you can be part-time. Does that make sense? Do you know what I mean? It's like you've got to, it's like if they stay at the club, all the hope I've got for Man United's future, if they stay as owners, my whole mindset will change. Someone said to me yesterday, why didn't you bring the Glazers up when you lost? Because they're leaving. It's kind of irrelevant right now to complain about them because there's light at the end of the tunnel. So it's good to hear some honesty from you there, Sav.